Hello everybody. I thought today I'd make a video about all my shrimp tanks. Now I have shrimp in all my tanks, including my guppy tanks, but right now I want to talk about the tanks that are dedicated to breeding shrimp. And keep in mind, everything you see in this video is available right now at markshelleyaquatics.com, my website. So if you see anything you like, hop on over there. I'll have a link in the description. So this is a 40-gallon breeder, and it is the home of my orange Sakuras and my most favorite plant I've ever had, a gigantic brown crypt. But we'll keep it to the shrimp. Gotta climb up on a ladder because that's the ceiling. So these are the orange neocaridina. I've been working pretty hard. I admittedly let this line get out of hand a little bit. You'll see a few bad ones in there, but not that many. Been working pretty hard to get them back under control. So 40-gallon orange neocaridina shrimp tank. I've had this line for probably 3.5 years, I'd guess, at this point. Look at that crypt, it just keeps spreading. It's pretty cool. That's pretty cool how that crypt is. It's a brown crypt. There's a lot of buried orange ones in here, so we'll be getting a lot more orange shrimp here pretty soon, hopefully. I like these guys quite a bit. Orange neocaridina shrimp. And so, as you can see here, not most, but a lot of the tanks I have dedicated to shrimp are on my rack of 40-gallon breeders. And so you have, that was the orange tank, and then we have a shrimp tank here, a shrimp tank there, a shrimp tank there, and a shrimp tank there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these are dedicated to shrimp. So take a look over here real quick, and I just did a video last night just on this tank, so this is pretty fresh. My personal favorite and many of the other people's favorites. Take a good look at the tank on a hole there. Moss and a great big huge anubias, and probably a couple thousand blue jelly shrimp. These guys are pretty awesome. They're my favorite. They breed true. Like, I probably for real call out less than 1% of these guys. So pretty amazing shrimp. My favorite. Just a beautiful shrimp, prolific, and I've had these guys for probably 3 years. 3 years, I'd say. I started keeping shrimp about 4 years ago, and for 4 years of shrimping, it's become a full-out addiction. Alright, so then we'll go over here to the next tank, but first I gotta move this ladder. Okay, so right here, it's really hard to get a shot of this tank and hole without glare, because the wall is right here. So I got a lot of tanks here in the cramped quarters, but this tank is an overgrown tank that is getting ready. I'm probably going to be snowed in this week. which means I'm not going to be working, probably. So this tank is going to be on my to-do list. This is Blue Dreams. And as you can see, if I can get a shot without the glare, these guys are pretty nice. They are the dark blue neocaridina. So another thing I want to point out to everybody is that while all these have different names, they're just lines. Everything is still just a cherry shrimp, just a neocaridina. So they all have the exact same care requirements and everything. Right now this tank is getting a bit of a hair algae issue, which I dosed it last night with hydrogen peroxide, and I'll probably dose it every day because when I want to wait before I clean it out to get rid of this hair algae, so then I can do something with the moss, because I don't want to try to sell moss or give moss away or anything that's got a little bit of hair algae in it. So I am using my hydrogen peroxide method, and these guys are pretty awesome. Blue Dreams neocaridina. And this line is another line I've had for probably 3.5 years. I've had these guys quite a while. I started them off in a 20 gallon and they were really slow to get going, but once I put them in this 40 gallon, they took off like crazy. I got lots of them. And these guys are coming up to be cold again. I just culled them pretty good, probably about a month and a half ago, and you get babies growing up and you realize, oh, there's a few bad ones. There's a little feller right there. Just a little feller. See him on the glass. And then I try to do it every month and a half. Go through and search out the bad ones and take them out. And that's the key to breeding shrimp lines. I mean, a lot of people just like having as many shrimp as they can. They don't really care about the line issue. So that's fine too. But if you're looking to breed to sell, you need to do what you can to get the bad ones out. Okay. And then below this tank, oh, gotta climb down onto the floor. This is my Bloody Mary shrimp tank, and in here with the Bloody Marys are my long thin green dragon plecos. They're very heighty. There's one right there. The most expensive fish I own. Right there. He's in here living with the Bloody Marys, and at first glance you may think, oh, these are just another red shrimp, but believe it or not, Bloody Marys are not just another shade of red, not a different, they're not a grade of reds. They're their own unique line with a completely separate lineage. Look, there's a baby boom going on in here. Look at all these little red dots in the moss. And what makes these guys different is they have red flesh with a clear shell. And every once in a while you'll find bad ones. But these guys breed pretty true as well. It's very rare that you find bad ones. And when you do, they got blue in them, which is different. Well, that's because they come from the chocolate shrimp lineage. Bloody Marys and blues come, well, Blue Dreams and Black Roses and Those all come from the same lineages, so every once in a while you'll see some blue ones in here. But there's actually, the ones I'm seeing are babies. So the last time I culled about a month ago, they were just not born yet or just microscopic. So that's why you're seeing some little blue ones in there now. But yeah, these guys are pretty sweet. And then down below that, this is my Skittles tank. All the different kinds of colors. On my red line, or on my line shrimp, I'm pretty picky. And only the best of the best shrimp get to stay in the line tanks. So in this tank here, the shrimp that don't quite measure up to the others in all the other tanks, every shrimp that gets removed for being too low of a grade ends up getting put here, and then they are allowed to interbreed and do their shrimp thing. And this is probably a lot of people's favorite tanks, and I'll tell you what, honestly, if I was just going to keep one shrimp tank, it might be something like this. There's the Skittles shrimp mix on markshellyaquatics.com. It's probably my #1 seller because they're so cheap and still really pretty shrimp. Just not your show grade super awesome line shrimp, but you just want cool colorful shrimp, different varieties. These are pretty awesome. Let's see if I can get a view of this thing, because the Rotala I got growing in here is pretty cool. Yeah, so that's what the tank looks like on a whole. I'm really liking how this tank is shaping up to look. It's a Rotala farm. Got a nice big Cryptoin Deadeye growing. A nice patch of moss up front. And then hundreds of multicolored shrimp. So this tank is probably one of my favorites. I like it a whole lot. So if you buy a Skittles shrimp pack on markshellyaquatics.com, this is what you'll get. I guess I should have wiped off the glass here before, but it was just an impromptu video. It's like, it's Sunday, Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day to everyone out there. Special Valentine's Day to my wife, Brandy. She's sitting across the room, so I wanted to shout that out to everyone out there. Yeah, these guys are pretty cool. Alright, let's go look at some other tanks. We've looked at all the 40-gallon breeders. So this tank, this is a 20-gallon high with the short side facing front. And I'm using, these are probably my toughest line of shrimp. And these are the Snowballs. These are actually a different subspecies of neocaridina than what most shrimp are, but they'll still interbreed. Every once in a while you'll see one of a different color that I need to get out, because these guys throw almost zero culls. But what happens is when I'm doing water changes, I think little babies get attached to the hose when I'm switching them back and forth, and I need to go through and get them out. But so they do breed. You'll see like orange creamsicle looking things, and something. But yeah, anyway, let's see, they get their name Snowballs from when the females are buried. They look like they're carrying around snowballs. But these guys are probably my toughest line of shrimp, seeing as they live in a guppy tank, and the guppy tanks get bombed with guppy meds and all that, and I go back and forth between wanting to do guppies and not wanting to do guppies. And I'm starting to lean towards not doing guppies anymore. But we'll see. I'll probably still do some. But I think the guppies might start getting phased out. Oh, come on now. Where's a buried one so we can talk about the snowballs? I'm pretty sure I saw one down here. And when I first started the video, I think I showed one. Okay. Just have to take my word for it, I guess. There's one. Alright. See your little white eggs? And that's why they're called snowballs. And these are the ones that are usually not real popular. And so I just have a 20-gallon tank dedicated to him, and it's not even dedicated to him because I'm trying to get some king koi guppy fry in here. But as soon as I started, right when just in the last month, I've sold more of these than I have in the last 3 years. So, and this line I've had for almost 4 years. This is this is the third shrimp line I ever got. And this over here in this 20-gallon tank, you can see it's a, look at all these guys. These are half black green guppy fry. And a line that I almost gave up on, my yellow line. But I have 2 tanks of them. They're also in my super red pleco tank, but they have just quit breeding. This is the only line I've had that, I mean, I sold tons and tons of them, and for whatever reason they just quit breeding. They don't die, they just quit breeding. So I sold and sold and sold, and then I was like, man, I better quit selling these, they're not breeding anymore. So, and this was I got my red line and my yellow line at the same time. I got 10 reds and 10 yellow golden backs 4 years ago when I started all this madness. And this one is actually my first red tank. This is where these 2 tanks right here are where all the shrimp madness started. Reds in this tank and yellows in this tank. So then my reds, they were the first to really get breeding and doing good. I don't know how a zip tie got in there, but there's a zip tie. I know, because this basket here, I got zip ties holding on there. I must have dropped one. This is my original red shrimp line, and of course I've started other tanks with red shrimp, and I have another line. I have another red shrimp tank besides this and my main one I'll talk about. But these guys, this is my breeding group of red mosaic guppies, and these red guys, they don't like the guppy meds, and it's kind of weird how that works. But there's plenty of shrimp in here. There's probably 50 to 100 shrimp in here, but they just don't take off like they have in the other tanks anymore from being in a guppy tank and the guppy meds affected them. So that's that. And then below these tanks here is my 75-gallon. This is my main red shrimp tank. And when I got to about 30 in this tank 4 years ago, this tank was mainly dedicated to endlers, believe it or not. And when I got about 20 or 30 shrimp, I put 10 or 15 in here, and then the rest is history. That was in the spring, that's probably like April, May, where I put 10 or 15 in here, and then by the end of July there's probably 200. And I don't even know, I'd guess there's probably about 3,000 shrimp in here, maybe not, but I mean, that moss is just full of them. And they get them all out in the open like this. I use Hikari algae wafers that gets them all drawn together. Look at all of them just covered in that Anubias. And they're still all throughout the rest of the tank. Okay. And like I said, even my guppy tanks, all of them have some kind of shrimp. I have 27 tanks and all 27 tanks have shrimp. We'll just talk about the shrimp's the tanks where the main purpose is to breed shrimp. And then in here, I started this as another red shrimp tank. And what I did, I took my very, very best, probably 3.5 years ago, and put them in here, and I haven't really culled them out at all. But the shrimp in this tank, there's a few bad ones in here, but there's a lot of what would be called painted fire red ones in here. Super high quality. And these guys get bombed with guppy meds, and they do good. That doesn't seem to bother them. So I'm keeping these guys in mind for if I ever want to do a tank where I do guppies and shrimp again, and I want to do another red shrimp tank with guppies. This would be the line I use. I'd pick out the best of the best in here and see what I get. But anymore, it's essentially just a backup red line. That's what it is. But there's some really, really good shrimp in here. I have better males in here than I do in my big tank, so that's something to keep in mind when if I ever start another red tank. Then I think that leaves us one more shrimp tank to talk about, and it's all the way on the other side of the house. That takes us into here to the 75-gallon green Jade shrimp tank, and see if I can get a shot of it. Oh, these guys are so timid. There's super red long fin plecos in here, and they're so timid. As soon as you walk up to the tank, they scatter. But as you can see, we got lots of green Jade shrimp, looking super, super good. There's still a few bad ones in here that escaped a cull net, but I'm not too worried about it. I did a video on these guys a couple days ago, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on these guys. If you want to know more about the green Jade shrimp tank, just go back and look at my videos from a few days ago, right before, a couple videos before this video, and you'll be able to see it. I spend like 11 minutes just talking about these guys, but this is what we're looking at here. Green Jade shrimp breed true, which is hard to find in green Jades. I'm not sure if I have more in here or more reds. I'm not sure, but I have a lot of these guys. So these guys are probably, they may not be my favorite, but they're the line I'm most proud of. This is the line I've worked on the hardest, the longest at 3 years. This is when I wanted to get super serious about shrimp, and I spent a lot of money and a lot of effort getting these guys, and I took really good care of them and babied them and super strict culling, and this is my reward. 3 years of hard work on these guys. It's an amazing line of green shrimp. You won't find a better one anywhere. And to remind you, everything you see in this video is available right now at markshellyaquatics.com. So I suggest you check it out. Links in the description. Thank you all for watching. Bye.